You know, I tend to do the same thing. I know Richard has a very different take on this.
We have people that get late. Let me tell you what we do, and I've had to do this with, I'm down to this 26 houses now. I had 86 at one time and thought I was going to lose my mind, but with 26 it's enough. If each house has one problem a month, that's something wrong somewhere every day I've got to deal with. This had air conditioning, a dishwasher not work in a house in Barton. I send the service people out there and they said, well, the problem is a rat has chewed through the dishwasher hose, and you have to fix the rodent problem before we can fix the dishwasher problem, so that's just another something. But we put in our leases that the tenants are responsible for pest control, so I put in a call to the tenant, make the rats go away, and we'll fix the dishwasher. But what I was getting to, you have to be consistent with yourself. One, if you're in multifamily for sure, and two, because there's federal testers out here, and we have to treat everybody the same. Now here's one word that nobody can argue with, and I learned this a few years ago from Arnold's wife, and that is discriminate. I would love to work with you, I'd like to help you, I'm sorry, we cannot discriminate. It is a federal law. We'll let our people get 1 month behind, but I can't let them get 2 months behind. Because then I got high dollar rent. When we're 15, 16, 18, 2,000 a month, they get 2 months behind, they're $4 grand behind, they're a third month behind, that's $6 grand. Plus I'm making these payments on these houses, which are almost as much as a rent, well, a lot of them are about half as much as rent, but it's still some pretty big numbers. So here's what I've done with my tenants, and let me tell you why I do it this way. We use a discounted lease, and this is, I didn't create this, I've learned it from other people. Let's say we have a house in Bartlett that's going to rent for $1,000 a month. We advertise it for $1,000 a month. 3 times in the interviewing process, I asked them in the kitchen, and the bedroom, and the yard, those are my triggers. Are you going to have any problem paying us $1,000 a month on or before the 1st? No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. All right. We're going to sign a lease for $1,100 a month. But if you get it into my P.O. box on or before the 1st, it's $100 less. So on the morning of the 2nd, they owe us another $100. I don't want the money. I just have to have the money on time. Now here's what happens. The only place we want our rent paid is the U.S. Post Office in Germantown, Tennessee. That's one of the busiest post offices in the state of Tennessee. It's open until 7 at night and 4 o'clock on Saturday. My tenants drive from Bartlett to Germantown, 10 miles, go in the lobby and stand in line, there's always a line, beg the clerks to hand stamp the envelope and put it in my box because it saves them $100. That happens about once a month on somebody. Now, when somebody gets behind, and again, we had this, the lady call, I'm sorry I didn't make it, I'm sorry I can't discriminate, it's $100. Yes, sir, I know that. I mean, there's no more argument at that point. The other 2 words that people can't argue with are company policy. Whether it's you're by yourself, you have to create your own company policies. I'm sorry, it's our company policy. We cannot let you get 2 months behind. But here's, you don't want to foul on the people, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. So 3 times last year, I sat down with my tenants. We're a month and a half behind. They couldn't catch up. I said, let's sign a personal promissory note for 1 month's rent and late charges. You're going to pay me back at 6% interest, $50 a month. Now, I've got their blue ink signature on this personal promissory note for $1,300, $1,500, whatever it is. I can sue them on the note. I don't have to go to court for judgment, possession, all that. I can sue them for that piece of paper. And I've had one tenant that's added $50 a month to their rent. The next month they paid the rent plus $50. Now, it may take them 2 years to get caught up, but that's better than letting them be 2 months behind, because then every month they owe late charges, they owe the extra $100, they will never get caught up. The reason you don't want to file on people, when you file an FED, your tenant will get from 12 to 20 letters from attorneys. It's a matter of public record, saying come in for a free consultation, there may be a way we can sue your landlord, or your kid's sick, anything wrong with the house. And so a little bit of money that could have gone to pay you, they now pay it to an attorney. Some of the attorneys are still in here. You know what I'm saying? Not Joe, they don't do that kind of stuff, but there's a whole group of attorneys out there that do this. And then they go into a Chapter 13, which is a federal bankruptcy plan that was originated here in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a 5-year workout plan that doesn't work. But now they're in the federal court system. You can't talk to them, you can't do anything except through your attorneys, through bankruptcy courts. I've had people keep me out of my houses 23 months, 16 months, 14 months, 13 months. They get kicked out of the plan, you file again, they file again. It's just lunacy. So by qualifying and by being real diligent, call them on the morning of the 2nd, call them on the morning of the 5th. Hey, it's our company policy. The bookkeeper's telling me I have to do this. I got partners. Even if most of us are married or have partners, you have other people you're accountable to. We're all just stewards of what's passing through our life anyway. We're accountable to our Creator to handle things in a profitable way so we can help other people. But Jeremy's right. These tenants, I think they missed their calling. They could have been great thespians, man. They have such emotional appeals on why they can't pay the rent. You know, they pay their utility bill, they pay their cable bill. I mean, they're still there watching. In fact, I was trying to explain to my tenants. I said, one of them last year, I said, "Well, you have cable TV?" "Oh, yes, sir." I said, "Why don't you drop it?" I said, "Do the math. That's about $1,000 a year." He said, "Well, how can I watch TV?" I said, "Well, you go to AutoZone or Radio Shack and spend $10 for rabbit ears. We've been using them for 20 years. There's 33 channels that broadcast in this area. We get 25 of them. For over a decade, they've been broadcasted in digital. And he says, "Well, how does that work?" I said, "Well, I don't know how it works. It's just like turning on your radio. There it is. You know, turn it on, there it is. You got 25 channels, crystal clear." But digital is not fuzzy. You either get it or you don't get it. It's real simple. But you have to decide how to handle your collections. And Gene is exactly right. If you can't handle the collections, it doesn't do any good. In fact, I had a member from MIG. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. About 2 years ago, called me. And he says, "Mr. Scarborough, I'd like to set up a time for you to meet with me and my wife. I've got 2 rental houses and my wife won't let me get another one." And I said, "How come?" He said, "Well, these 2 people aren't paying us any rent." I said, "Well, how long have they not paid rent?" "Oh, about 6 months." I said, "I'm surprised your wife doesn't choke you in your sleep." You let people move in the house and not pay rent. It's easy to sell people who don't pay. Think about it. But you got to be balanced, and all of us are strong and weak in different areas. I'm too easy. Kevin's too easy. I don't know about Gene.
Me too.
My wife, Ann, some of y'all knew her. She passed away a few years ago. She was a real firecracker. I'm always amazed how us mild-mannered men end up with these firecracker women. But we had a tenant. He applied, paid his deposit, $1,000, paid his $35 application fee, went through fine. We're getting ready to sign the lease. We're asking him 3 questions: bedroom, kitchen, yard. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. We're getting ready to sign the papers. And he's saying, I don't know if I can really pay you on the 1st. I get on commission. Sometimes I don't get paid in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th. And we're just saying, well, just pay us ahead, pay us a month ahead, whatever it takes. Well, after about 5 or 6 minutes of that, Ann said, "You know what? That is not going to be a problem." You know how she was. She picked up all the papers, the lease, the lead-based paint, everything, tore them in 2. She said, "Because you're not going to be living here." Thinking, well, here we go. But she said, it's better not to let them get in the house when they start that whining on the front end. And we'll give you your deposit back, we'll pay your fee. Well, you're not living here. Just boom, you're done. So you just have to make those decisions and stick to them. Right. If you don't have a partner that's that strong, you may want to get a partner that's that strong. Now, Ann wasn't like that, but she said 20 years of dealing with tenants made her a mean person. It's just unfortunate.
It's great when women are like that, because I think it's a little different for women than it is for guys, because women have this maternal instinct that kicks in. When you don't pay rent, you're literally taking food off of the table and out of the mouths of my children.
That's right.
Do that to a woman and you'll see her side, the protective mother cub or mother bear come out when it comes to her cubs. So yeah, you know, we deal with that in our office too. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for 2 questions in general. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask? Yes. Nathan, awesome.
Richard, you mentioned the cons to multi-family, and Kevin, I wanted to see your side, the other side of how does it work in light of the problems, because they're very real.
Surprisingly, I think we both agree. It's just I'm not willing to put up with all those problems.
Well, how do you put up with it?
Well, let me say this. First of all, next property I want Richard to be my buyer's agent. But number one, I tend to be very niche oriented in where I buy, and small. My largest single property is 20 units, and then 16 and some smaller ones, quads. I buy in an area that I know very well. Back to those first comments, I'm an expert in that area. I know the demographics, I know the people by and large that I'm dealing with. I'm pretty good and a lot better than I used to be about risk management on the front end. As Richard's first comments were, experience can't be learned. Can't be learned, yeah. So, you know, you gain experience. I remember, told you, I just meet people there and kind of make a decision. One of my first units, they wanted to see it right now. Could they come? Yes, I'd meet them over there. They drive up with a mattress strapped to the top of the car. Red flag. Let me tell you, when they got the mattress on top of the car and they're ready to move in, something's up. It didn't look new. It didn't look new. It might have been a recall. But you know, that whole thing about just do your diligence on the front end, try and manage your risks, know your market. And again, I'm small enough. I know all my tenants by name. I have that relationship with them. Now, do I get burned? Sure I do. And I have to kind of be the. I can be the villain, you know, and I can just back down sometimes. Sometimes I have to not. It's a learning process, and it's one thing I learned from Richard. I think the value of these meetings is in any of these relationships. So it's like a parent-child. Anything. One party's teaching the other. So you're either always teaching that resident, that tenant, how it's going to be, or they're teaching you how that's going to work out. So, you know, pick your battles. It's a learning process.
Well, we got to wrap up here, guys. Richard, again, is a regular at the butcher shop. I've had several meetings with him and had a chance to pick his brain over the years. You can see him every Friday, typically. Gene and I met through MIG. We actually were complete strangers. Now we're good friends. I've invested a lot of money in Gene's business. He's been a great asset in terms of expanding my knowledge. Kevin, I was so brain dead after Richard's story about multi-units that I've got no use for you.
What do you got to say?
Anyway, guys, give our panel a round of applause.